If you are hearing these words now, it's not by chance. There is something in the invisible that still pulses between you two, something that time hasn't erased, that distance hasn't been able to silence completely. This connection is not over, and deep down, you know that. What is happening now is not the end. It is just the silence before the reunion, a silence that hurts, that burns, but that also prepares. Maybe you have tried to convince yourself that it's over. Maybe you've told others that you've moved on, that you're moving forward, that you don't expect anything anymore. But when you lay your head on the pillow and the city sleeps, your heart whispers another story. You still feel, you still catch the echo of a love that hasn't faded. There are days when this silence feels heavier than any word spoken, because you don't hear his voice, you don't see his eyes, but you feel his energy nearby, as if he were in another room of the house, breathing the same air, and that confuses, that hurts, because it's as if life said let go, and the soul replied, I still can't. If this message has begun to touch something inside you, subscribe to the channel now. Here, we don't just talk about love stories. We talk about spiritual rescues, about connections that the mind cannot explain, but that the heart recognizes right away. This space is for souls that feel too much, that perceive the invisible, and that accept nothing less than the truth of their own essence. Today we will talk about what lies beneath this silence, because it is not empty. It is filled with messages, lessons, alignments that you still do not see. Let's dive into the pain of those who love in silence, of the soul that waits for answers, and in place of them, receives distance. But is this distance really a goodbye? Or is it just the ego trying to deceive both of you? The truth is that when the connection is of the soul, time behaves differently. It does not destroy, it only repositions. Often, the universe separates to heal, to clear the mirrors, so that when you look at each other again, it is not with the same wounded eyes as before. This separation may just be the pause before the music starts again. And I know, while this pause happens, the mind creates 1,000 scenarios. You wonder if he thinks of you, if he misses you, if he remembers the moments when you both seem to breathe in the same rhythm. You find yourself imagining if he also feels that chill in the soul when he hears a song that was yours, but something deeper is happening now. Something that the wounded heart doesn't always want to admit. Silence is also an act of love. It is a fertile ground where the reunion can bloom more mature, more conscious. It's as if the universe is saying, wait, there is something you both still need to learn separately, so that together it can be true. And maybe that's why you are here, listening to this today. Because your soul knows that this story is not over, that there is an invisible thread holding you both, even if the world around says it's finished. And I am here to remind you, it's not the end, it's just the intermission. What comes next is for those who have the courage to look beyond the pain and see what is really happening behind the spiritual scenes of this connection. So, take a deep breath, because today's journey will ignite something in you that was asleep, but never dead. You wonder, night after night, what really happened? How did that gaze, which once seemed so secure, so full of life, suddenly turn into this emptiness? How did long conversations turn into silences, and closeness turn into absence? It's as if you woke up one day and realized that, without warning, the ground beneath your feet had disappeared. And no matter how hard you try to move on, something inside you still clings to that moment when everything seemed possible. You tried to delete messages, tried to distract yourself, forced yourself to believe that this story was over. But just one thought, one scent, one tiny memory, and his energy comes rushing back through your chest as if it had never left. You tell others that you are fine, but you know that deep down, there is a space within you that still vibrates upon hearing his name. And no matter how much you try to rationalize, explain to yourself or the world that love is not enough, your body, your soul, your intuition, keep whispering that this connection has not been severed. The problem is that, in the absence of answers, The mind starts to create questions that have no end, that rob you of sleep, that weigh down your breath. Does he think of you in the early mornings when the city is silent? Does he feel the same emptiness when he realizes he is no longer by your side? Is this distance an act of self-protection, or is it an escape? And even deeper comes that haunting question: has your love ended, or has it just changed form? Because when it is of the soul, nothing completely fades away. The energy does not die. It transforms. It moves. It seeks new paths. This is the most painful point for those living this kind of connection. The emptiness is not total absence. It is a space filled with memories, sensations, and signs that the universe insists on leaving in your path. It's as if every song, every repeated number, every strange coincidence comes to poke at the wound, and, at the same time, to ignite hope. You try to ignore it, but you realize you can't, because this love is not just in the heart, it is imprinted in your energy, and energy cannot lie. It overflows in the dreams you have, in the synchronicities that appear, in the times you think of him, and minutes later, something reminds you of him again. Maybe you're afraid to admit that you still hope, because waiting seems like weakness. But what you feel is not passive waiting. It's a bond that continues to breathe within you, even in silence. And this silence, as cruel as it may seem, could be carrying exactly the answers you so desperately want to find. Not everything that seems like an end is an end. Sometimes it's just the universe repositioning the pieces, aligning two paths so they can meet again at the right moment. But while that moment doesn't come, you find yourself facing a dilemma. Dive into this emptiness and try to understand what it wants to show you, or run away from it and pretend you don't feel. And this is where many get lost. In the rush to end the pain, they end up interrupting a process that could bring not only a reunion, but a much stronger reconnection. Because the soul, when it truly loves, doesn't seek shortcuts. It accepts crossing the desert, knowing that there is life on the other side. Now breathe, because what we're about to reveal will open a new perspective on this silence. Let's step out of the realm of doubts and enter the territory where the soul speaks louder than the ego. It's time to understand what the invisible is trying to tell you. The pain of abandonment is not just in his absence. It's in the echo that remains inside you. An echo that resonates in the quietest places of the soul, reminding that something was interrupted before it could be completed. This emptiness is not simple. It is deep. It stirs up memories that may not even belong solely to this life. Because when the connection is of the soul, the distance touches old wounds, memories that come from afar, from other existences, from promises that have not been fulfilled. Yet, what is happening now is not just about him not being by your side. It's about what this awakens in you: insecurities, fears, the feeling of not being enough, of having done something wrong, of being punished. But, spiritually, this phase has another meaning. It's the moment when the universe puts a mirror in front of you and asks, can you love yourself even when you're not being chosen by the other? The soul calls, but the ego screams. And it's this scream that often confuses us. The ego wants quick answers, wants everything to go back to how it was before, wants the absence to end immediately. The soul knows that there is a divine timing, a rhythm that cannot be rushed. It hides, perhaps out of fear, perhaps because it's not yet ready to deal with the intensity of feeling you. Because you activate him. You awaken emotions in him that he may have spent his entire life trying to hide. And that's why many distance themselves. Not because they don't feel, but because they feel too much. The soul love is not comfortable. It is challenging. It dismantles masks, exposes vulnerabilities, and not everyone is ready for that at the moment it happens. The truth is that behind this silence, a spiritual work is happening. The universe is adjusting frequencies, healing wounds, removing energies that could harm the connection. It's as if each one is being polished, separated, so that when they meet again, they can see each other with more clarity and fewer projections. The soul love doesn't need promises. It needs courage. Courage to stay even when it's not easy, to face shadows that common romantic love often ignores. And perhaps now is precisely the moment when this courage is being tested, for both. The silence, as painful as it may be, is also a conversation. It says, stop, look within, see who you are without the other. Because deep down, physical separation is never total. There is an invisible thread that continues to connect you, and this thread vibrates, responds, sends signals. The universe hears what you don't say. It sees when you cry silently. It feels when you think of him. And it responds, just not always in the way you expect. Perhaps at this moment, the answer is not the immediate reunion, but the expansion of your own consciousness. Maybe what is being asked is for you to learn to sustain yourself with your own light, without depending on his presence to feel whole. And it is at this point that the true magic of this journey begins, when you realize that, even far away, you continue to converse on a level that is not physical. When you understand that every synchronicity, every dream, every sudden feeling is a reminder that the connection is still alive. If any part of these words is stirring something in you, write in the comments what your soul is trying to say, because what you feel is not weakness. It's a sign that your heart is still connected to something greater than time and distance. His silence is not the end. Sometimes it's your beginning, the beginning of a healing you never imagined needing, of a reconnection with parts of yourself that had been dormant while all your focus was on him. It's hard to admit, but often the absence of the other is the push the universe gives for you to turn back inward, to hear your own voice, to learn to sustain yourself with your own energy. When the soul loves, it tends to expand to embrace the other entirely. But if there is no balance, you may end up drifting away from your own center, believing that love only exists when shared. Now, this pause is showing you the opposite. True love starts within. It does not depend on immediate reciprocity. It does not wilt, because it is lived in silence. Before it returns, you need to return to yourself. Before any message arrives, you need to listen to yourself. The reunion with it, if the universe decides it will be, can only happen healthily after the reunion with yourself is solidified. This is how you ensure that when you look at each other again, it will no longer be the same dynamic as before, laden with fears, dependencies, and insecurities. Surrender is not giving up. It is trusting. It is letting go of control, but not of the feeling. It is understanding that love is not blind insistence. It is space. It is freedom. It is the courage to allow the other to follow their own path of growth as well. Often, when we hold on too tightly, we suffocate the flower we want to protect. What this phase is asking is for you to rise again, to use the time and energy that were previously directed towards him as nourishment for your own blossoming. Reconnect with your gifts, your passions, your small joys. Feed your light, because it is what will guide you to what is yours, whether it is him or something even more aligned. Do not romanticize suffering. Do not confuse intensity with destiny. The pain you feel now is not meant to imprison you, but to purify you. Soul love is not lost, but it is also not imposed. It respects the time, freedom, and process of each individual. Look at yourself with compassion. Notice how much you have already grown since the beginning of this story. See that you are no longer the person who only knew how to wait. Now, you are learning to walk. And when you walk towards your own essence, you become magnetic. Your energy shifts, your shine returns, and everything that is truly yours begins to come closer naturally. Trust. The silence may just be the fertile ground where the next phase of your life is germinating. In the meantime, keep your heart open, but your feet grounded. Love without losing yourself. Wait without stopping living. Take care of yourself like never before, because it is in this care that you become capable of receiving, without fear, what the universe has prepared for you. You are not the part that waits. You are the part that awakens, that ignites the light even when abandonment tries to extinguish everything. This is the turning point that changes everything. When you understand that your life is not on pause until he returns, but that it is blossoming now, precisely because you chose to return to yourself. The reunion with the other is only possible after the reunion with your own heart. And this moment of distance, no matter how painful, is your opportunity to reclaim your spiritual sovereignty. You are not half of anyone. You are whole. And true love does not come to complete. It comes to overflow. When you start to align with your essence, something changes in your energy. Anxiety gives way to trust. Fear gives way to presence. You stop begging for signs and start to recognize that the simple fact of existing is already a sign. And this is where the magic happens. When you return to yourself, he feels it, even from afar, even in silence. This is the magnetism of a peaceful soul. It is the silent strength that does not need to chase to attract. It is the kind of energy that does not beg, but invites. And, on the spiritual plane, this change is felt intensely, because the connection between you does not depend solely on words or actions. It is sustained in vibration. The love that transcends is not what confines, but what liberates. It can change form. It can transform into friendship, into distant support, into just a sweet memory. But when it is true, it never completely disappears. The physical union may or may not happen, but the union in spirit, that is eternal. This is the point where you reclaim your personal power. You stop measuring your worth by his reaction. You stop shrinking to fit into the time or availability of the other. You expand because you understand that if he is truly your soul mirror, he will feel this light and inevitably will be drawn back to it. And if he is not, then you will still have won, because you will have returned to your own essence. And nothing is more precious than that. You do not need to be with him to be at peace, because true peace does not come from touch, but from spirit. When you position yourself in your center, the universe reorganizes everything around you. The right opportunities arise. Aligned people come closer. Doors open. And if, in this flow, the reunion with him is part of your destiny, he will come, not because you waited, but because you became who you were always meant to be. This is the strength that silence has been trying to deliver to you from the beginning. Now, with it in hand, you not only love, you love yourself. And that completely changes the story. What is of the soul, time does not erase. The universe takes care, and when you let go, it prepares. Now that you have come this far, realize it was not just a message about him. It was a message about you, about how, even while going through silence, loneliness, and the weight of absence, you have been reborn. You are no longer the same person who started this journey. Before, your gaze sought answers outside. Now it turns inward and finds something even more valuable, your own light. Before, you measured time by his return. Now, you measure it by how much you are blooming each day. If the reunion comes, and the right time belongs to the universe, you will be ready, not as someone who lost themselves to love, but as someone who found themselves, and, therefore, can love freely, consciously, and wholly. And if he doesn't come, you will still be ready, because the love you feel has already fulfilled its role. It awakened you. It pulled you out of the illusion. It brought you back to yourself. This is true union, the one that starts in the spirit, in silence, and in the courage to remain connected to your essence, regardless of what happens in the physical plane. When you understand this, love ceases to be a prison and becomes freedom. If this message resonated with your soul, subscribe to the channel now. Here, each word is a mirror for your journey, a reminder that you never walk alone. Like, share, and leave in the comments. Do you feel that there is still something between you two? Or do you feel you are finally coming back to yourself? Your story may touch another soul that needs this light today. What you both experience is not measured in dates or meetings. It is measured in vibration. And if you are meant to meet again, it won't be because fate forced it. It will be because the souls recognized that it was time. Twin flames do not seek each other. They meet when the soul is ready.